Submissions are in the public domain and we won't accept that. The Honourable Rick Barker.
Thank you, Mr Chairman, for taking my call. I want to pick up a couple of points on part one, and in particular I want to address to the Minister and the Chair the very serious constitutional issue raised by the Honourable David Parker. I think very often we take these matters lightly, particularly when people hold a ministerial warrant and are busy people and they want to get things done. And I understand the Minister wants to get things done. But there are constitutional processes in place to ensure that the public are not subject to a legislative and parliamentary bushwhack. And I fear that's what is being imposed upon the public here today. It's clear that this SOP has a significant amendment in it, a significant amendment which has not gone to the Select Committee. There has been no opportunity for the public to get involved. And I think the Minister has a duty, an obligation, a debt to the public of New Zealand to explain why he has chosen to circumvent the Select Committee process. The Minister has also an obligation to explain clearly to the public what the consequences of this amendment is to be, and to explain clearly to the public why it was impossible for him to go to the Select Committee and allow this to have transparency and scrutiny and submissions. Mr Chairman, one of the fundamentals of our parliamentary representative democracy is transparency. It's accountability. It's ability of the public to participate in these debates. All of those principles have been offended by this process the National Party has embarked upon here, and it is significant. If there was urgent public reasons for it, no problem. Everybody agrees that the process has to be flexible to enable things to happen quickly. But on those occasions, the Minister and the Chair explains the reasons for it and the justification for taking the speedy process. But on this occasion, we have not heard that. The other worry the public should have is that the Kiwi share was put in there for good reason. It was to protect the public against the predations of a monopolistic telecom. It was an obligation and a burden upon telecom, one which it has jibbed against, shrugged against, and done everything it can to get off its back. And why was it a burden? It was a burden because it was a protection for ordinary New Zealanders. Now we are seeing that protection taken away. So one person's burden is another person's benefit. And if Telecom is getting rid of the burden, we have to ask ourselves the question, what are the benefits which are going to be foregone? Now I would have expected a responsible minister who was supportive of transparent and open democratic processes and who was supportive of transparency would have explained to this Parliament clearly the reasons for this. The Minister would have got up and said, this is imperative because. The Minister would have also got up and said the consequences of this are going to be A, B and C, D, E, and F, G, whatever it was, and explain to the public. Instead, what we have in this SOP is a small explanation at the back. These amendments are to reflect that the Kiwi share will not be operative following the structural separation of telecom. While I have to say to this chamber that it would take a very, very knowledgeable person to figure that out. It would take someone who had an incredible amount of industry knowledge to understand the implications of that. Now, the Minister, in my view, has a responsibility to explain to this House what he is doing. The Minister gets his power as a Minister from this House, and the Minister is accountable to this House. And I say to the Minister, you're in dereliction of your duties as a Minister and as a representative of the people of New Zealand. You have failed to explain to them what the consequences of this amendment is. And there are many people whose phone lines are supported by the Kiwi share. They don't know it, they don't appreciate it, they just pick up the phone. But that's how it should be. They should be able to believe that Parliament will look after their interests. In this particular occasion, their interests are jeopardised. And the Parliament and the Minister, Parliament has not heard the reasons for that. And I want to say to the Minister, he is adding to New Zealand's reputation for being the Wild West of the legislatures.
I'll call Chris Hipkins.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.